So how are you guys doing today?
I am superb. How is everybody else?
Good.
Good. Had a good month. Learned how to do a lot of new web development stuff. You know, learning new stuff every month.
Me too. A lot of new stuff, but it's good.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that you have a job as an Imagineer, according to every other week that we make the constant Imagineers jokes.
Yeah, my imagination has hit a dry spell for this last few weeks, but I'm hoping Christmas will help that.
I like to imagine that Disney uses the Scientology approach where they gauge your Imagineer level just by hooking you up to a machine. They just get your power level of your imagination. This guy's over 9,000. Okay, that was a little cheesy. Yeah, the 9,000 joke needs to stay in 2009 or whatever, but
I think we should keep it in.
I'll keep it in. So we got 4 beautiful movies for you guys today. We got Rare Exports, Krampus. We got Gremlins.
No,
And
that is not how you pronounce it.
I know it's not Gremlins. Everybody knows I mean Gremlins. God. And we got
Black Christmas.
Black Christmas. That's
The
what-
original.
Did you guys notice if you listen through all the months, I always forget one.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just one out of the 4. It's like my brain.
But you
is like
actually
that.
said this month we have movies for you this time, so.
Right, that's true. That's because last time I made fun of myself for not saying week or for saying week. So now that I've made fun of myself for always forgetting one, I'll remember all 4. That's my strategy. So which one do you guys want to start with? I always freaking pick, so you guys pick this time.
You can pick, Tasha. Which one do you want to do?
We can go ahead and do Gremlins. I mean, that's fine.
Okay.
Gremlins.
Don't say it like
So
that.
Tashi recommended Gremlins. So she's gonna do the summary.
So basically, you've got this dad. He's a travel salesman / inventor, and he goes to China, and he's trying to sell a few of his products, and he goes in his China shop, and he's also looking for a present for his kid. Well, he saw these cute this little thing called Gizmo, which is, how do you pronounce what he is? Because I can't really.
Mogwai?
Mogwai, yes.
And
And the grandfather didn't want to sell it to him because, it's too much responsibility. And he offered $100. He still said no, and he offered $200, and he still said no. So the grandson snuck it past him and sold it anyways. But there's 3 rules that he must follow. Don't get them wet. Keep them out of light, especially sunlight, because they'll kill them. And whatever you do, don't feed them past midnight. Well, basically, this kid never followed any of the rules. His friend knocked over a vase of water on him, which made them multiply. And he also got light from a camera, and then one of the multiplied gizmos ate through the alarm clock, so it looked like the alarm was still 11:30. So he's like, okay, I'll go ahead and feed you. And he did, and then they turned into something worse. They're called Gremlins. Basically, what they do is terrorize the city, and Stripe, the main leader, jumps in a pool, multiplies even more, and then they have to basically stop them.
Yeah.
Good explanation. Stop taking my hat off.
I don't like that.
So
But anyway,
I love this movie. It's it kind of felt like Killer Clowns in a way, where it's like the plot is not great, but it's so much fun, and the characters are so cute and so funny that I love this movie, even though it doesn't really make sense.
yeah, that's funny that you said that, because I actually had that in my notes, that it reminded me a lot of Killer Clowns.
Yep. Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun movie. The one with the mohawk is really funny. It doesn't make any sense that they smoke multiple cigarettes and they're just like, I don't know, but it's fun. It's fun. It doesn't make any sense, so you can't really nitpick and say, oh, what about this and that. I didn't write any notes for this movie because I started to do it. Like I started to write notes and I was like, this is a nitpick that doesn't need to be there, and I just kept doing that. That's what I did anyway. So I have notes for all the other movies, but.
Yeah, I don't have much notes either. Like, a couple things caught my eye, like how classic looking the Burger King looked. Just different things back in the day,
and how the old man that warns people about stuff is always right in horror movies. But it would have been funny. I guess it's not really a horror movie, but it would have been funny if he was just wrong and the kid followed the rules perfectly, and there was no movie.
No, it wouldn't be that funny.
Yeah, well, I like it felt kind of like a fairy tale, like where they literally were like, all right, here's the 3 things you can't do with these creatures. So it's like, all right, these are the 3 things that we're gonna see in the movie.
In the movie, you're right.
And I thought that was cool because it helped to frame it so you in the first 5 minutes you knew exactly what you were in for. I thought it really established like the rules. Well, it physically established the rules, but it kind of established the universe, and it kind of I liked that. I was in from the first scene.
Well, so one of the things so I'm gonna acknowledge this is a pointless nitpick, and I'm gonna say that for all of them. One of the things I took note on that I deleted was what changes between 11:59 and 12:01. Why is it midnight? It's such an arbitrary thing. It's are they fine at 11:59 but not fine at 12:01? And how do they grasp the concept of human time? We just made that up.
Yeah, it is weird. The rules, I like them. They're cute and fun, but the characters are just way too accepting of them. They're just okay, I guess I can't feed them after midnight.
Yeah.
I just thought everything needs water, but they can have beer.
Yeah,
but not water.
That didn't make sense to me either.
Well, they said you couldn't pour water. They didn't say they couldn't drink it.
So they evolved to drink it but not spill it on themselves, I guess.
Yeah, because they're not getting wet if they're drinking it, I guess, technically. But their lips are.
They're inside. Their lips. Their lips are immune. So if you look at his melted pile at the end, then his lips would still be on the pile. Oh yeah, but it melted his insides too. So how would they drink water?
At the end when he falls in the fountain?
Yeah. So there he goes. I just destroyed your logic.
I think they're just trying to make it as simple on the rules as possible.
Yeah.
And they don't have people like you that overthink things.
No, it's the killer clowns logic of there were a lot of plot holes in that too, but it's just so much fun that you don't care. It's.
I'm really glad that we opened up by saying that anything like that we say we realize is pointless when it comes to this movie. So yeah, but go ahead.
But it's I love the middle part where they're terrorizing the town. It's just like Killer Clowns, where it's a bunch of little skits. The caroling gremlins is really funny, and when they're trying the gremlins in the mailbox that are just throwing the letters back out as the guy's trying to put them in. All the little skits that they do are pretty funny.
Going to the cinemas and watching Snow White.
Yeah. Or the gremlin, the flashing gremlin that just opens up the jacket. It was just weird.
Bar. Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes is at the bar.
You guys had seen this movie before this podcast, but I hadn't, so.
I grew up watching this movie.
Right.
I actually watched.
I'm not old enough.
I watched it earlier this year for the first time because it used to be on Netflix, and I was I had always heard of its existence, but it was really fun. I expected it to be more of a horror, but it was just a fun kind of PG horror. It was kids horror almost, which was totally cool.
Which at the time, I guess people would think that was kind of scary. I mean, needless to say, Killer Clowns is not scary either, but they classify it as horror.
Yeah, I think the only scene that kind of was horror, I thought, was when the mother's trying to fight the gremlins when they first hatch. Just
Oh yeah, near the tree.
yeah, and like she's in the kitchen and they're like throwing the plates at her, and she has to like. I thought the gremlins were kind of scary, but I thought it was way too much when the mother put the one in the microwave and blew it up. I was like, that's cruel.
Yeah, they'll be like
Yeah, like
putting,
Hitler doesn't deserve that.
That's-
Like that's just no.
That's like putting the monkey in the pod on the fly.
Yeah.
And just explodes.
Like they're
Yeah.
just throwing plates. They're not like evil. They're just having fun. They're like a cat.
Just rambunctious.
I mean,
No, they're kind of evil. I mean, what about when they were hiding in the Christmas tree and they're like, we're gonna kill that lady or whatever.
Yeah, I guess they did technically kill some people, but most of the time it's just like they were just being obnoxious.
You rolled your eyes. You're like, oh, I guess. Like, you're like,
I
no,
mean-
they're not evil. I guess they killed a few people.
I mean, what's the more, dangerous at throwing plates than that dog, destroying that snowman? I mean, there's.
Yeah. Oh, that Mrs. Deagle, her death was hysterical when she got flown up the chairlift and right out the window.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm glad that you said that because I would have forgotten and been really sad. I was cackling during that.
Yeah.
We were like talking about Annabelle creation. Like she was going up like that and just fucking, and just the velocity that it flies her out the window. It's just fantastic.
And
You
like
could tell a lot of effort went into that because it looks good for the time. Like
Yeah.
so they had to shoot a lot probably and had a little bit of time spent on that stunt.
yeah, it was I didn't know this was directed by Chris Columbus. I think it was I don't know if it was or no, it was Chris Columbus wrote it. Joe Dante directed it, but
And then Spielberg produced it.
Yeah.
but it
Which this whole time I thought it was a Spielberg movie. I thought he directed it until I saw the intro credits. For some reason, I've always thought that this was a Spielberg movie, but it's not.
The way they advertised it before they put producer, it did kind of seem that because
Yeah.
they had his name at the top, like he was the director.
And I don't really attribute anything when a producer credit comes up because, like, you could put producer James Wan, but that doesn't mean it's a James Wan movie at all. It just means that like he might have contributed some money or given some. Basically, they want to put his name on it. That's what producers
isn't that what they did
for.
with all the Insidious movies after 2?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and they would put that in the ad, and his name would stay on the screen the longest. And I felt like that it was people just wanting to associate James Wan with the movie.
Yeah.
And like James Wan isn't too careful about his name. He will put his name on anything. So that's why you got to pay attention whether he directed it because he will sell his name and just be like, "Here you go. Make a fun horror movie or whatever."
Yeah.
But it's not nearly the quality that he can do. Anyways, we're getting away from Gremlins, but we're talking about the Spielberg thing and we kind of got sidetracked a little bit. My bad.
But like it when I watched it Gremlins the first time, it wasn't at Christmas, so I wasn't looking at it from that lens. So I always thought it was kind of weird that it was a Christmas movie, but watching it this time, there was a lot of Christmas in it, like more than I remembered. It did feel very Christmassy watching it
Yeah.
again.
I gotta give that one to Tasha. You know, this bag of 4 were all very Christmassy.
Yeah.
Which was the goal. I didn't know this many Christmas horror in quotes movies existed.
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't either. So.
It was easier to find Christmas themed horror movies than Halloween themed horror movies.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you.
Which
on
is
that.
funny.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Um,
There's a lot of traditions around Christmas, but
Yeah, this or, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say I think that all of these movies in a different way captures the spirit of Christmas. I think this one's got a little bit more positive vibes
Yeah.
than the other ones in the set, you know?
Agreed.
And so it's just like the fun of it, you know, the fun of Christmas and
Yeah, because I mean, yes, a couple people die, whatever, but it's like at the end, it just feels like it never feels like the stakes are very high in this movie. It just feels like maybe it's just because they're little gremlins, they're not these big hulking like demons, but it feels like the worst they're gonna do is like flash you in the bar and demand beer, and
well, I don't know. I mean, little gingerbread cookies are pretty dangerous too.
Oh, yeah,
which
that
we'll
is.
Which we'll get into later.
Yeah. But what did you guys think of the effects or the use of the Gremlins in the movie? I thought it was really everything was done really well. There was never an effect that I was like, that looks really cheesy. I thought it all held
No,
up pretty well.
I like them.
The practical gremlin effects are good. I think it's funny that the main gremlin looks like a Furby before Furbies. I mean, like he was this movie came out before Furbies, so I don't want to act like that they stole it, but
Which they did create a Gizmo Furby later on, like in the 90s.
Oh, that would be
Yeah.
cute. I'll look that up
Ew.
on eBay.
I think
Jake
they,
will get it for like $6. He'll be like, buy it now, PayPal.
Was there anything else on y'all's notes? Because I'm pretty much
No,
said what I wanted.
the only negative I will give it, or the thing like I said, the plot's not great, but the thing I thought was awful was the whole like the girlfriend story, like the whole thing with her dad getting stuck in the chimney, and like she didn't know he was dead, and that's why she hates Christmas. I was just like, that doesn't really add anything to the story, and
No.
but the one line that I laughed out loud at was at the beginning when she's like, a lot of people don't like this time of year. Well, people are opening their presents. Other people are opening their wrists. I just thought that was
Like,
just the way she said
okay.
that was so funny. She's just so like.
Is this the movie? Yeah, dude, that reminds me. Okay, I think it was the same lady. Is this the movie that the lady runs outside because he hears Christmas carolers and she's gonna throw water on the Christmas carolers?
Yeah, I think so. I think that was Mrs. Deagle, like right before she gets it.
Yeah, I
and
think
she didn't.
so.
She didn't even know about the water weakness or anything. She was just going to throw water on Christmas carolers.
Which, I mean...
Well, she said she was gonna.
Mad big...
Or go ahead.
Go ahead, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, she said she was gonna like kill the guy's dog, like, or what? She said something very specific. She was gonna like poison him or something, poison the dog.
Yeah, because she was saying
Oh,
that she was saying that the kennel would do like less painful than she would have done.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like she was at. I did not understand anything that happened at the bank. Like the one family said that they were in between jobs and they wouldn't get their first check for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But like if you're 2 weeks late on your mortgage, then you don't even need to contact the bank. You probably have like a $30 late fee.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't
Or
know.
what?
Back in the day, it might have been different.
If they're not going to start the foreclosure papers 2 weeks after you're late
Yeah.
in any time period ever.
But it.
So yeah, I mean they'd probably incur extra fees, but like what is their angle
Well,
basically?
maybe they still can't afford to pay the late fees
Yeah.
because they seem like they were not as wealthy as some.
Well,
But
they took on a mortgage that was too expensive for them, and I have no sympathy. What? I'm just being honest. We're in a podcast. I can be honest.
this is a
Like, can I
safe
not be
space
myself?
for Mike's heartlessness. Mike would microwave
This
a
is the
gremlin.
Christmas
That's how
part.
heartless he is.
No, this is the Christmas podcast. Why can I not have Christmas spirit and still think that people should be able
No.
to pay their mortgage? Like
Well-
what?
No.
Yes, you can.
Yes. Okay.
The thing again with the plot that I thought was weird was they set up a lot of like secondary characters that went nowhere, like Mrs. Deagle. Like they kind of set her up as a villain, but she didn't do anything. After the first 20
Right.
minutes, she just basically showed up to die for a joke. And then like Judge Reinhold, the guy from the bank that was kind of hitting on the girl at the bar, he was in like one scene and then he disappeared, never to be seen again. It just felt like the pacing was weird, but they had to make room for all like the fun gremlin shenanigans, so I guess
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's all I got on Gremlins. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
All right. You
Same
done?
here. Yeah.
Okay. Well, since I recommend, I'll go ahead and do my rating. I really enjoyed it, but I still think I enjoyed it maybe a little bit more when I was a kid. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 for this one. I mean, it had a lot of good scenes I still like the bar scene, and I just love Gizmo. He's so cute. But I just feel like I like Killer Clowns just a little bit better than this one. So
Yeah.
okay, who's over next?
Yeah, and in the same vein as Tasha, I'm gonna give it a 6. I felt like the practical effects in this movie brought it a cut above the average, which average is 5 out of 10. That's like your average movie. So that kind of knocked it up for me, and it had a nice, harmless story. I didn't really find any major, plot breaking problems. I was just along for the ride. I spoke less about this movie because I just don't have that much to say. It was fine. That's what I have to say about it.
Yeah. I'm gonna go a little higher and give it a 7. I think it's like there's issues with the plot and whatever, but it's still a fun movie, kind of like Killer Clowns, where every time I watch it, I enjoy it more. And it's something I definitely will probably put into my Christmas movie rotation moving forward. But it's not like one of my all-time favorite movies that I'm gonna watch over and over and like quote and stuff like that. But it's an above-average movie that I think has a place in like a yearly watch. So yeah.
Sounds good.
And Josh gave it a
And,
0 out of 10.
Yeah, Josh is nowhere to be found.
Josh is ripped. He's MIA completely. He didn't even talk to us from beyond the grave this time. So
Nope. He must be with Krampus right now.
Yeah, he probably got snatched up.
Yeah. He got tired of all those comments, calling him an idiot on YouTube. So keep them coming.
Alright, which movie I wanna...
You guys want to do Josh's movie next?
Yeah.
Black Christmas?
Great segue.
No, that was Jake's.
Rare Exports was...
Jake's movie. Josh. Do you want to do Black Christmas next?
Yeah, that's fine.
Alright, that's Jake Areno's movie.
Yep, so the original Black Christmas came out in 1974. Basically, the plot is there's a lunatic that's... Well, we don't know anything about him. There's a lunatic that goes to the sorority house, climbs in the attic, and he starts making like very lewd, threatening, crazy phone calls downstairs to the girls, and they're having a party, and they get a really obscene phone call from upstairs of like using like really bad language and like saying that he's gonna do stuff to the girls, and they get freaked out. One girl goes to bed and she gets like murdered and taken up to the attic by the crazy person. But since it's right before Christmas break, they just assume that she went home and they don't think anything of it. But then the girl that got killed, her dad comes looking for her, and there's like a whole police investigation. And basically, it's just from then on, the lunatic just keeps slowly killing the 3 or 4 sorority girls, and kind of like the faculty mother or whatever. He just kind of slowly kills them off, and the final girl, she has a boyfriend who is mad at her because she wants to abort the baby they're going to have. So the movie kind of wants you to think that the boyfriend is the killer, and then it basically ends with the girlfriend killing the boyfriend, and you're supposed to think that it's all over, but then it just is a cliffhanger of you basically see that the crazy guy's still in the attic. The end. Spoilers.
Yeah, and so the body didn't smell, like it does.
Right, and the cops did not think to look in the attic, and they left someone who was almost murdered in the scene of the crime by herself to sleep.
Yeah. 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 The police force in this movie stands out to be the worst. But Tasha wants to talk. So
But
go.
starting from the beginning, that one girl, the smart ass mouth, I just thought it was really weird that she could like call her mom like a whore and all this stuff on the phone.
Typical millennial. Am I right?
that boomer.
Yeah, back then. No, this is the 80s. This movie came out in the 80s.
No, it's
74.
Oh, so it would be boomers. It'd be boomers.
So, well,
They'd be in their 20s
yeah, I guess
in the
so.
70s.
Yeah.
Because, if you're in college in the 70s, then you're a boomer.
Yep. So, okay, boomer.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just thought that was pretty normal. She was just talking shit to herself about.
No, she wasn't. She was on the phone with her mom. She
Well-
called her mom an actual whore on the phone.
But
Oh, I thought it was after.
But I thought the mom was basically calling the daughter saying, I'm going out of town for Christmas, go fuck yourself. Like, so, I kind of thought that she was justified. I felt a little bad for the smart-ass girl in that case. Personally.
Well, at least the mom gave her the courtesy and told her that she's going out of town.
Yeah.
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 True.
I'm not gonna be around for Christmas. Sorry.
But she's obviously
Yeah.
rich because she's just like, all right, who wants to go skiing?
Yeah, really. And, it's like, and then she's like, you in, you in?
Yeah, in the summer she's probably like, you guys want to play some croquet?
We can go up to my family's beach house. It would be ever so much fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Oh.
thought she was gonna be the main character. It was kind of like one of
Yeah.
those switcheroo things where in the third act
Yeah.
it kind of you realized who the main character was.
Yeah. And they all looked like they were like 30 in a sorority.
Well, except for the one that got killed at the very beginning. She
Yeah,
looks...
we talked about that. It's like,
She
this is the
looks
only
like-
one that looks college age.
Mhm.
And the rest of them look like they're like 30 pretending to
And
be
then
college.
you got that godmother who drinks booze out of the toilet. Now that was
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
like-
Are you reading my notes? Because you
Okay.
keep mentioning
No.
my notes in order.
We all just-
and it's making me mad.
We all just have
Okay.
very similar thoughts, but like, this movie was way funnier than I thought it would be. Like the jokes were like held up very well. Like pretty much everything with the godmother, like her finding the liquor and like her thinly veiled hatred of every living thing. Just it was so funny to me.
Yeah, her toilet water alcohol was pretty funny. I just kept like thinking like, what other creative places does she hide alcohol?
I mean, she had several. Another thing that me and Mike was talking about, this is another similarity movie. We felt like this had a lot with the When a Stranger Calls.
Yes.
They were kind of similar.
Yeah.
With like the call coming from upstairs and
Yeah, and also
It's in the same house.
and all the POV shots from the killer's perspective was very Halloween to me in a good way.
Yeah.
You can tell that
I
this
liked
movie
that, yeah.
heavily influenced Halloween, which came out a few years later.
Right.
Which, the main detective, he was the detective in Freddy,
Yep.
Nancy's dad, which he seems to play a detective in every movie he plays in as well.
Yeah, he's very typecast, but I thought he was pretty good as just kind of like the serious cop, but then the kind of bumbling the blonde guy, he was pretty funny too.
Yeah.
What was it? The address was like Fellatio Drive or something.
Yeah, fellatio.
Yeah, no, and she said it in a way where I thought she was just like messing with the cop. You know, because she said fellatio and she spelled it out, and then she like looked at him like
But
or whatever.
But she was drunk, so it was kind of hard to take her serious to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought she was making him write it out because she was trying to flirt with him or something, or just make him uncomfortable, at least.
Well, she was messing with him. That was the whole joke, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because if you watch later on, the detective and the other guy was cracking up
Yeah.
about it because...
Right, so, like, that part was clear, but it's like, okay, if that's the case, then do they or do they not, like, live on that street?
No, they don't.
Because we just talked...
That was a fake
Okay.
street name.
Okay, because I thought that, but then you said Fellatio Street, like, that's actually where they live, and I know now that you're referencing the joke, so I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
I would normally cut that out, but I'll just leave it so that everybody can laugh at me, because I'm the dumbass police officer that fell for it. So, dude, the police are so not helpful in this movie. I was like, that is like, I mean, like, they are more helpful in movies than they generally are in real life,
Yeah.
if you've ever, like, had to report something to the police. But they were way less helpful in this movie than they are in real life. Like, so it was like to unrealistic levels. It's like the guy's just like, I don't know, we don't have time for you, screw you, or something.
Yeah.
Else. Like, I thought it was him for a while because he was taking it so not seriously. that I thought it was like him.
Yeah,
Trying to
he
cover it
didn't
up.
give a shit until the very end when he was like trying to get the main girl out of the house. Like he was serious for a minute, and then he just kind of was like, "You need to get out there. Somebody's gonna kill you." And then of course she
Yeah.
runs right upstairs, as you
Yeah,
do.
and the guy said he was gonna kill him if he like said it wrong to her,
Yeah,
and then he presented it in a way that would totally make her curious about it. You know, he could have came up with something on the spot just to get her to leave the house.
be
Like
like,
the officer outside your house has some questions for you, or something.
yeah. He was just like, "Put the phone down, walk out the front door, don't look back." It's like, well,
I don't-
why?
Don't ask
Yeah.
any questions. Yeah.
Which you also thought the father was the killer as well.
Yeah, he was a little weird.
It was a weird day.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you would be weird if your daughter's missing, but I mean, he seemed like really religious type too. Like he went in and he's like, saw that all the girls were like drinking all the time, and
Yeah. Can we all just agree that the hook kill is the worst kill of the movie?
Which one? When like the mother?
The lady that keeps hiding the alcohol everywhere climbs up to the attic.
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
And then like he just holds the hook and he like swings it and it somehow kills her. I'm just like, what?
Yeah, none of the kills were particularly memorable except the very first one when he just kind of like comes out of the closet and you kind of see it from his POV. Like I thought that was kind of cool, and
Yeah, that was cool.
when I think it was the drunk girl when she was getting murdered, she was like getting stabbed with the unicorn horn, and it kept like cutting back to the Christmas carolers outside. That was kind of a cool juxtaposition.
That was good.
which I knew they probably would kill her with those glass figures anyways, because they kept shooting the camera toward there.
Be rooting, be shooting, but most of all, be kind.
But yeah, I think I mean this was like sort of the first official slasher, or it definitely has. You can see the influence of this movie in like Halloween and Friday the 13th and kind of everything moving forward. But the reason I picked it is because I had heard that it was kind of like the forgotten slasher movie, just because it's not really regarded up there with Halloween. And I don't think it's as good as that, but I think it's a very above average movie that has held up extremely well. I think I thought it was going to be like okay, but it actually was very good for me.
I thought, so I've said a lot of positive things, and I feel like I need to talk about some of the negatives to justify the rating that I'm going to give it. So, one of the, and here's the thing, guys. I know that this is a very loved movie. So if you've clicked on this podcast because you want to listen to about it, it's okay. I'm just going to talk about some of the things. So, I personally had trouble accepting the way that the story was progressing on a lot of fundamental levels. Not only the police thing that I've already mentioned that we've already went through, but just the way that the story was told and the actions that the character takes. Like, for example, the biggest thing is what we've already mentioned of her going upstairs when she would have left the home, and then she ends up running to the basement, and then the guy breaks in, and then instead of discussing it with him, when she's clearly afraid, he just approaches her, even though he's acted aggressively, and she's clearly afraid of him. She kills him, and instead of them having a conversation about it, that she just kills him because he does come too close, and she's in that murder situation. So I'm not faulting her for what she did. I'm just faulting him for not taking it as seriously as a normal person in real life would have.
Yeah.
Just every point of the movie had me pulling my hair out like that. But also, honestly, when I was watching it, I wasn't as entertained as you seem to have been. I was kind of bored, to be honest with you, like as the movie was progressing. I was like, I'm following this, but I'm not there. I'm like, I couldn't latch on to anyone. I could almost always find somebody in the movie to relate to, because I relate to a lot of different personalities and people, but I just couldn't find anybody that I could just be like, latch onto a little bit and just kind of ground myself in the story in some way. So I just felt like I was watching events in a movie unfold, and I didn't feel like super attached to anything. So
Yeah, I agree with that. I didn't really feel attached to any of the characters. It still had all the tropes of a slasher movie where all the characters are very one-dimensional and throwaway. They're just kind of like a body count, essentially.
yeah,
I, th- I thought the movie, kind of the main reason I liked it is I thought it did um, establish tension relatively well. There was kind of in the middle during the like when they're going to the cops and trying to get them to understand. That was a little slow, but I thought the beginning, anything with the phone calls, I thought did pretty well, and kind of the climax, I thought had good tension. So it kind of it kept my interest that way, and I thought just like some of the camera works with, especially with the POVs from the killer. I thought that was cool and kind of had me interested, but from a character perspective, I definitely would agree with you that there's not anything to write home about there. So
I like the call trace stuff. I thought that stuff was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just because I'm like IT type of person, so I haven't seen a movie that shows that.
Yeah.
That was neat. I don't know if phones still work that way. I thought it was really funny that they still talk to the operator. Like,
Yeah.
I don't. Okay, so I'm gonna have to ask my like grandpa or something next time I see him. But like, I don't know. So is the operator always listening the whole call, like, or do you push a button to go to the operator?
You have to push 0.
Oh, you push 0 and then you get the operator while you're on the phone?
I've never done it with on the phone, but I know you can push 0 to.
Because she was talking to someone. She didn't dial it back and say, operator. No, she was like in the middle of her sentence and then she said, like, operator, we're not like connected well, or something like that. And I was like, what?
Huh. Yeah, I thought it was
like
just
talking to your CIA agent.
that might be a plot hole because I thought it was like Tasha where you have to hit 0 and then they kind of connect you and that's it. But
Well, she might have hit 0. I don't know.
it might have just been the movie messing it up.
Yeah, but I might have missed it. So if somebody's gonna comment and say that, I might have missed it. I'm acknowledging that. But it was cool watching them do the trace. Like, you didn't talk to him long enough, blah blah blah. His calls were pretty cool. The audio and the mixing of that, you know.
Yeah, but it also, like, from a plot hole standpoint, I was like, basically he's 3 rooms down the hall screaming into a phone,
Yes.
and they don't hear that in person. But
Yeah, I would
true.
agree.
Big true.
and also,
Big
like,
true.
how is he doing? There's obviously a woman's voice, and sometimes the woman and the man talk over each other. It's like, how does that work?
Unless he has a recording and
Yeah.
playing it up to the phone.
Let's look at Tasha, the serial killer over here.
So, like,
I mean, I've seen Scream, man. Come on now.
so yeah, like that type of stuff is kind of a plot hole, but at the same time, I think I've said several times I like horror movies that don't really reveal too much about like the antagonist. So I kind of like that a lot of it's open ended. I do wish we'd have gotten a little bit more about the killer, but I like how ambiguous it is. And you never.
'Cause I thought,
or go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Finish what you were saying.
I just like I liked how you never really knew his true motivation.
Yeah, because I thought, Peter, he had like a split personality, and his name was Billy.
Yeah. I like the ending. I mean, I like endings that just say F you. I was talking with Tasha about this, but it's like, I did think that it needed a little bit more meat. Like, you don't have to tell me who the killer was or what their motivation is. That's not important. But I just wanted a little bit more out of the ending. But at the same time, I do like it when movies leave me hanging like that. I don't know. Maybe it's just a self-loathing, but I kind of like it when I'm at the end of the movie. I'm like, fuck you, and then the credits roll.
No, in horror movies, I like that. I like a cliffhanger ending on a horror movie, but in no other type of movie do I want that.
Yeah, I don't want to go see like Frozen 2 and it ends that way.
Elsa is
Not
just.
that I would ever go see Frozen 2.
Is Elsa dead? Is she decapitated? You won't find out until Frozen 3.
Yes.
Gotta imagine
The
that one
end,
up.
and then it's like question mark. The end. Question.
But yeah, I think, I guess another negative for the movie is that they were trying to make you think it was the boyfriend, but I never once thought that. And I think the movie did.
No, I did.
The movie didn't really make you, because like they basically kept
They had the abortion talk though.
it.
That was enough motive.
No, that was a motive. I got that, but it's just like I feel. Maybe I'm wrong, but I swear there were shots of like the boyfriend being in the house and then POVs from the attic. So it's like, all right, you just showed that it's not the boyfriend.
Well, plus also, when the first kill happened, that was before he even found out she was pregnant too. Now
Yeah.
that I think about it, because he didn't find out that she was pregnant until the next day, which would make sense
Yeah, true.
for him to kill. So.
But I did like the feminist. It took a pretty strong stance. This movie did about like kind of pro-choice, which
Yeah.
I thought was pretty progressive for that time, especially.
Yeah, 74. It's like I thought it was funny that we had The Fly and then this, and I was like, what? What is with all these progressive old movies?
This movie was definitely more hitting you in the face with. It literally was like, I'm not gonna give up my life to have this baby.
Yeah. She's still first trimester, so it's still good. It's still fine.
Yeah, I think like it's stuff like that, and I thought the humor held up a lot better than other movies from that era. Even some of the humor in Halloween is kind of, I think is kind of bad, but this movie was a lot better than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
I'm ready to go into ratings.
Okay.
All right. Well, Jake starts it.
I'm gonna give this movie. After I just glowed about it, I'm still gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Like it's an above average movie. It's not the greatest slasher movie ever made, but I think it's an important movie because it shows how a lot of the building blocks for slasher movies were found, like established and stolen moving forward. So I think it's an above average movie that holds up very well, but it's not an amazing movie. It's a slightly above average movie.
All right. Well, you have convinced me to bump it up one. So I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 10. So this is me mixing my personal opinion into the review. So if this is your first podcast, we go by personal opinion. We don't go as to what we think the objective, in quotes, rating is. And my personal enjoyment out of this movie during the time that I watched it was as such. I think that this, out of all the other ones in the whole podcast that I've watched, has room to move up if I rewatch the movie and I'm in a better mind space for the story. I think I might have caught this movie in a time where I expected something a little differently. So I got myself in a different kind of movie mood than what this movie delivered to me, because I never watched the trailers to any of these movies before I watched them. So I didn't know what the movie was supposed to be about, and I had this idea in my head that it didn't meet. So I'm going to acknowledge that and say this might be one where, yes, we don't talk about it again on the podcast, but my opinion of it might change over time. But that's where I'm standing right now, is a 3.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10. I think it has a lot of potential, and again, if I rewatch it, I might like it a little bit more. And I just felt like it probably could have gave a little bit more than it did, especially near the end.
It did drag a little bit, too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot
agreed.
to mention that.
It's just a little bit, but that's what I give it. And Josh, Solo.
Maybe the remake will be better.
No, the trailer for the remake looks awful.
Well,
I haven't seen it.
Yes, you have.
The reviews have been terrible. Like the Jason Blum from Blumhouse, he tweeted, he was like, I had to go out and buy myself a new shirt to cheer myself up because our movie's getting terrible reviews or something like that. So
I love Blumhouse in general. Like, I just love that they're producing so many horror movies. But go ahead.
no, I like that Blumhouse exists, but their whole business model is let's make 12 shitty movies and the 13th one will be great. It's like, so
Yeah.
I'm only going to see like 1 in 13 of their movies.
But they don't intentionally make shitty movies. they just give people budgets and then let them make what they want.
Yeah, true.
And they know that that's going to produce the worst results. But that does give the directors more creative freedom. I mean, if they're willing to release like bullcrap like Bye Bye Man and shit, you know that they're not interfering with the movies at all.
Right.
I don't think they did Bye Bye.
They didn't do Bye Bye Man? Okay, well...
Well, if that...
They did Happy Death Day.
Yeah.
I like Happy Death Day. That was one of my favorite movies of that year.
I think that was the
I
last...
love that movie.
That was the last Blumhouse movie I really liked, except, I guess, the new Halloween. It counts as
Have
Have
one.
we talked about Happy Death Day on this podcast?
No, you gotta recommend it then.
Maybe I'll do Josh's, and so I get to do 2 or something, because I don't want to change the format of the grid, so I can't move it to 3. So
Okay, well, anyways.
well, you can shit on it if you want, Tasha. You don't have to rewatch it. You've seen it. But anyways, go ahead.
Any more on this one?
Yeah, any more on? Sorry. God, we went way off the rails.
Nope, movie was good, not great. I liked it. Move on.
We're
You
gonna
want to do Josh or Krampus?
You know, we always finish with mine, and I feel like we always have the best conversation around mine. So let's save rare exports for last, and let's do mine third.
Okay.
To see if we can get the best conversation on
Can
rare.
we take a second so I can go check on Molly real quick?
Yeah, well, I gotta do the intro, and you know how long that takes
Okay.
me. So, Krampus. Krampus was directed by the same guy that directed Trick or Treat. Don't know his name. This is not a professional
Michael
podcast. I
Dougherty.
don't have the IMDb.
Michael Dougherty, something. I don't know how to say the last name.
So Michael directed this. Yeah. So it's a movie that is trying to encapsulate the modern day vision of what Christmas is. What I think this, and since Tasha's going to be gone, well, I'm going to quickly say this at the beginning. I think this director is really good at capturing the spirit of the holiday, whether it's the intended spirit or just like what it is in America, in American society now. And so he opens up, and there's this Black Friday shopping scene where everybody's just like trampling each other, which is less of a problem in 2019 as it was when this movie came out. You know, a lot of the deals are online now, and the Black Friday rush isn't as bad as it was. But basically, the movie goes by, and Krampus, you know, is kind of summoned because this kid breaks his holiday tradition by ripping up a letter from Santa because he's frustrated because his parents allowed these degenerate children to read it out loud at the dinner table and didn't stop them or allow him to stop them, and just like judged him by what he said on his private letter to Santa. And then so like he's justifiably very visually upset about it. The young actor did really well selling that. I really felt bad for the kid. Looks like a little Jonas Brother kid though.
Yeah, he sure does.
But anyway, that's probably in your notes. But after he rips it, it kind of like unhinges the wrath of Krampus. So we're left with this, story that unfolds where the old lady explains who Krampus is through this animation sequence. The teenager girl goes missing, and as basically everybody slowly gets taken by Krampus and his helpers and his elves, until only the children at the truck remain, and then he goes to confront Krampus. And then when he goes there, Krampus throws him in the hole, and then he ends up in this like snow globe with his whole family, and then it ends. I skipped some stuff in between so we could talk about it, but that's essentially what happens. So what'd you think, Jake? Do you like Krampus?
Yeah, I love this movie. I watched it before the Halloween Horror Nights house in 2016. I don't know if I had seen it before that or not. But
I think it was your first time because we talked about it back then in 2016.
So I've watched it probably 5-6 times total. I
watch it every year.
It's a fun movie. I really enjoy it. I love the lore of Krampus. I love all of the kind of unique creations that they did for this movie, like the monsters and stuff. But I don't watch this movie very often because it fills me with like an existential dread that I can't really explain, like more so than any of these other movies. I think it's just I don't know if it reminds me of like the inevitability of death or whatever, just because it's like basically you know that everyone's gonna get picked off at some point, but I don't know, it just fills me with this weird dread I can't really explain. So I don't like I like the movie, but it doesn't put me in a good mood when I watch it.
Oh no.
But
Um,
it's I think it's a pretty effective horror movie, and watching it this time I appreciated a lot more of the humor and stuff, which we'll talk about. But
I can definitely relate to the thoughts of the inevitability of death. I think about that a lot. So, horror movies kind of help me deal with that, but I totally get that sometimes being reminded of it.
but
is
it's
not
like
the best.
I don't get why this movie specifically, because like every movie we watch, people die, but I don't know, something. Maybe it's just like the juxtaposition of the darkness with like Christmas, which is supposed to be like fun and happy.
time.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't. This is not a psychology session. I just wanted to bring that up because
Yeah.
I don't. It's
So
like a weird thing.
I'm glad it's that effective on you though, because it means that you feel something when you're watching it.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed this movie. I
I
think
kind
it's,
of feel bad for recommending it.
no, I mean,
just because it makes you feel that way.
I still watch it probably every year, but it's not, and I think it's a great movie, but it's just, I don't know, it's a weird like dread that I can't put my finger on when I watch it.
One thing that I have in my notes that I'm gonna sort of talk about is their family sucks more than most families that I've met.
Yeah,
Like their family sucks. And I think that I have this like weird thing when I watch movies like that where I think it's trying to say that there's something wrong with everyone and that everybody should just accept everybody for who they are. But I don't buy that message because I relate so much more to the lady that's just trying to host everyone. And you know, I get the other side that the movie's trying to be two-factor balance. It's saying in some aspects that the aunt being rude and the sort of lower class part of the family and the lady, you know, they all have their faults. Like she wants to make all this weird food that they don't like, and she thinks that she's better than all of them, and you know. She's like mac and cheese and hot dogs.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like she thinks that she's too good for these things, and the movie's sort of criticizing her. But at the same time, I think that honestly, like even though families should be able to bond with each other, everybody shouldn't expect to just be themselves when they're around everybody for Christmas.
Right.
I expect everyone to be polite, even if their own personality is not a polite one. I feel like that they are a dick if they are themselves at a Christmas party, if that's who they are. They should cover up those part of their personalities and just be pleasant around everyone. And that's just how I feel. Like I feel like that's not only the polite thing to do, but it's just an asshole move to just go into someone's house, complain about their dinner, or you know, just be this like overly, you know, toxic guest.
yeah,
And I don't see it in a balanced view at all. I think she has a little bit of a fault, but it's one of those things I just smile about slightly. It's like she's like a 2 out of 10 annoying, and they're like 10 out of 10, and the movie's trying to act like it's the same thing.
yeah. I think what I read that as is basically like the first 20 minutes feels like the setup to Home Alone. It literally follows the same beats, except instead of wishing his family to go away, or I think he does wish his family to go away actually, but it takes a different turn obviously. But I felt that Krampus was almost kind of like winking at that like trope of like the annoying family that comes in and is kind of obnoxious. And because basically in Home Alone, Kevin's treated like shit by his whole family and then basically blamed for reacting about it. So it really felt like a parallel to me. So that's what I kind of gave some slack there, because I thought that this movie was trying to like parody that in a way.
Yeah.
And I thought it worked.
I wasn't faulting the movie for that. I was just commenting about the message, my dude.
No,
That's
yeah.
all I was saying is like, I learned something about myself in this specific viewing, and I think that maybe I'm a little bit pretentious, because when I see that, I see absolutely nothing wrong with what the lady's doing. And maybe other people don't feel that way about it. And I've sort of learned that about myself, that maybe I'm that person. Maybe I'm that, like, are you serious? Are you serious? You want, like, mac and cheese? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm that person. And so I kind of learned that about myself in this viewing, and it made me a little sad, but, yeah, I don't know. It is what it is.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I don't personally really have this issue where there's like that one family member you have to see, and you're like, oh my god, I can't stand them. Like I
don't.
get along with
Yeah.
pretty much everyone in my extended family, so there's no issues there. But I can see that it's probably a common thing that there's like that one person or that one like group of people in your family that you really dread going to see.
I used to, and then I don't see them anymore. So
I'm sorry, but if my family was as horrible as the family in this movie, I probably wouldn't spend Christmas with them. You know, that's such an un-Christmassy. I hope somebody's not listening to this podcast like the day before Christmas, like, oh man, you're killing my Christmas vibes, dude. But it's just the way I feel, man. Like, why would I want to make myself unhappy on Christmas? Just for the arbitrary. Like, I think the kid's right when he's like, why?
Yeah.
Why do we torture ourselves because we share DNA? Like,
No,
I agree.
I
agree.
I fully agree too, and that like the dad's kind of explanation of like that's just what you do. That is bullshit. Like, if I was
He's like, you got me there.
if I was in the dad's shoes, I'd be like, get the fuck out of my house. Like, bye.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and they don't do anything. The thing in the movie that bothers me the most is that they don't do anything about it when the little girl is reading the letter from to Santa. And I know that that's what needs to happen to kick off the plot, but to me that is such like I would remember that like for me that would be so horrible. I would remember that event my whole life. I would like think on that and just be so ashamed of that letter. My entire life if that happened to me. That's how bad of a scenario.
yeah, that's
it is
like
to
a
me.
traumatizing, life-changing event, just to be that humiliated. Because he was like being kind. He was like, I feel bad for this part of the family. I want them to be happy, and they basically were like making fun of him for that.
Yeah, and it hurt their feelings. Like they looked at each other like they were so hurt. Like he was like that, and I was just like, what the fuck,
Well,
guys?
I guess to your point about being like pretentious, like it could come off as condescending if you think your life's fine, but somebody says, "Oh, I feel bad for you." That kind of would piss me off too.
Yeah.
In a way.
No, I get that. I get that, but at the same time, like they have to remember that these are this kid's private thoughts, and they probably have private thoughts like that
Well,
about plenty of people.
maybe he shouldn't have added that he thought that the dad wished that they were boys. He probably shouldn't have
Yeah.
put that in there.
That was
Funny.
that was a
honestly.
funny joke, but yeah, like to your point, Tasha, I don't feel like he would have really written that in real life. That was just added for the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Jonas Brother kid would not have written that.
But
My name is Jonas. Da, 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 of carrying the world.
oh, I forgot that song existed. That's a good one. I'm gonna listen to that
Guitar Hero
tonight.
3, dude. That's the only reason I know it. Guitar Hero 3.
Quit getting off the topic.
No, man. Tasha kicks me the whole time I'm off topic. Like, shut the fuck up. He's gonna fucking kill you.
All right, we've talked about the first 20 minutes. Now let's talk about the good shit.
Yeah.
When stuff finally
Blue
goes
balling the
crazy.
audience.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
So
Go ahead.
I like the Jack in the Box.
Oh yeah, what's everyone's favorite of the demons, or like the monsters?
The gingerbread man.
Jack in the
cookies.
Box.
Yeah, for me it's either Jack in the Box or like the angel, like the demon angel that
Yeah.
kind of like tries to strangle the mother.
With the Christmas lights.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
That one's pretty good.
Yeah.
That one's like in terms of scary, that one's the scariest to me. The little angel. Just
I think the Jack in the Box is the scariest one.
I don't know. The bear's pretty scary too.
That's
Yeah.
true. I forgot about the bear.
But the gingerbread men, I love that scene too. It is very Gremlins, but they are scarier than the Gremlins. Like you definitely feel like the real menace that the gingerbread men
Yeah.
have.
The gingerbread man of the Phantom. God. The worst jokes known to man.
So, one of my favorite parts in the movie is like when the grandmother's telling the backstory and it has the animation. I really like
Yes.
the animation.
I love that too. I love how it looks kind of it looks like a 2D like old-timey puppet or like a flat paper doll type of thing. I loved the aesthetic of that.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite parts.
So, all right. How can we talk about how much of a freaking hero the mailman is for delivering in that blizzard
Yeah.
and having such a goddamn smile on his fucking face? Like, I love that guy. I never thought of the mailman until I saw it this time for like the 6th time.
That's Steve the Kayak King.
Yeah, Steve.
Steve the Kayak King.
I was
it's
also
his day job.
I was also wondering, like, because basically Krampus isolates this family into their own like personal hell. Like, what does the mailman have to do with that? Did they just take somebody off the street and kill him, or is he like a figment of Krampus's like doing?
Yeah, so I was talking to Tosh about this, that I've never thought about the mailman past that spot until this time, and he's not in the snow globe. He doesn't pop up in the end, so I think they just killed the mailman, and all he was doing was hustling, man. He was delivering on Christmas in a blizzard, and all he got was death.
Yeah, and
What a guy. I guess, but the director likes to punish people for not following holiday tradition, and he did not stay home.
Well,
Supposed to stay home with your family.
it wasn't
not
technically.
necessarily. It wasn't Christmas.
It was like the
then.
23rd, or
No.
I think it was the 23rd that day.
Yeah, because if you think about it, the dad, when he came into the room, he's like, we just got to put up with them for 3 more days. So it wasn't even Christmas.
Yeah, because I think the only time that's actually Christmas in the movie is like the climax when they're out in the snow and Krampus like throws the kid in the pit. I think everything
Yeah.
else is technically like the 23rd or 24th.
And which mailman still delivers on the 24th.
Yeah, Amazon Prime, dude.
Yeah.
It was a DHL product placement in this movie, but if it was made now, it would be Amazon for sure.
Yeah. It would be jet.com.
Oh, is that still a
the
thing?
Director,
I don't know. I haven't checked.
the director of this movie, I felt like, really likes Charlie Brown because he mentions
Oh,
Charlie
yeah.
Brown in this one, too.
Yeah. Charlie Brown the asshole.
Charlie Brown is still the asshole.
Yeah. Does he say Charlie Brown's an asshole?
No. But then he's like, oh, we're going to watch Charlie Brown.
Oh yeah, at
Yeah.
the beginning, the Jonas kid.
Yeah.
I'm carrying the world.
Oh, but I was personally offended by the joke about Eagle Scouts when the dad's like, I didn't have much time in high school. I was trading, and then the guy's like, for what? Eagle Scouts? He's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, well, that's why you're a pussy. And I was like, whoa, that is a little strong there. I'm personally offended.
Whoa. Well, it's like, I mean, this is gonna sound like a complete dick, but like, why does the other guy think that he's better because he did football when he's got less than the guy that was the Eagle Scout guy? Like, he's lower on the socioeconomic ladder.
But that felt more realistic to me because it's like that typical like what you think of like with the toxic masculinity of like if you didn't play football in high school or if you don't go hunting or like have a bunch of guns, you're not really a man, like that type of shit. So it
Which he's more like the redneck guy, so of course he's going to think that.
That dude, and like everybody in this movie played such a good role as their part.
Yeah.
Like everybody freaking nailed it on their characters.
yeah,
and stuff.
every single actor in this was phenomenal. Like they got some very good like A-list actors to be in this. Like Toni Collette, who's always amazing in everything. Adam Scott from Parks and Rec, and David Koechner from like Anchorman and that shit. Like they got a lot of really good people.
Yeah, it's a small cast but very focused. And I even thought that the child actor was really good, and the teenager girl. Her most challenging scene was the one where she's underneath the van, and that scene to me is the scariest scene of the movie for me.
I agree.
Just because it builds suspense so effectively. the first time I saw it in the theater, I was actually kind of frightened during that part. And yeah, I just believed everyone's performance. Like, yeah, like I'm sitting here nitpicking about all these people's character, but I just wanted to say, like, for what they're supposed to be, all of them are just perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just in the casting or if everybody's just such an amazing actor, but it's also got to be part of the direction too. So everybody just brought their A game for this movie.
Yeah, where like I mean the movie. I think the goal of the movie was to make you like hate the redneck dad, and it's like it worked on me. Like I was just like, you're such a fucking idiot. Like everything
he's
he
got
did.
His Hummer.
Yeah, and then he was
He's
like,
got his fucking Hummer.
when they come back from looking for the Beth, the teenage girl, he's like, global warming my ass. It must be 20 below out there.
Yeah.
Well, one of my scenes that irritated me is like when the son burped in the girl's face. He's like, "That's my boy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's my boy."
Yeah, that was a little over the top. I actually thought that was kind of. I've never met a family that praises someone for burping. Like, I've met people who are okay with it, but not like praise like that. But
Yeah, that.
I'm sure that exists.
Yeah, that was a little. Okay, that's the one time that character was not good or like not effective, but that did kind of. I guess it helped to me be like, this guy's an idiot. It
Yeah.
farthered
Yeah.
that. But
Like the aunt lady is a fun character to watch, but she would piss me off in real life. But in a movie,
Yeah.
like a person that's like that, you know, is entertaining and funny at some points. But in real life, I'd be like, oh, I hate this bitch.
no, yeah, she was fun. I liked her kind of the fact that she didn't really know how to deal with children, because I'm kind of like that. I'm good with my nephews, but it's like I don't really gel with children a lot of the time. So like I get it. I kind of felt for her in that. But speaking,
At least she comes by sometimes to make sure I'm not dead.
well, she's trying to like when she's like, go in the kitchen with the kids, and she's trying to find something to like connect with them, and she's like, I'm gonna teach you how to make peppermint schnapps.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good.
But
I like that.
the one thing I noticed this time is like there's a couple little sections in the movie where he throws in like kind of cartoon sound effects, and it's very subtle, but it's so funny. Like when the aunt is finally taken and she's pulled out the window, it's like a cartoon like whoop, like as she's pulled out the window. It's made me laugh so hard.
Yeah. I think, so that's part of the tone, and I think that's, like, if this director is good at two things. One is pulling the best possible performance out of actors, and two, it's tone, man. Like, the tone of this movie is so solid throughout, and it just feels like Christmas, but it's got this campy, consistent feeling throughout it that I love. Like with the cartoon sound effect, it all adds to the tone.
Yeah.
Or when it first snows and it's got that shot that goes across the table that's got all the candles lit, and you could see the blizzard outside, and they're standing over the window discussing the blizzard with each other, and it just feels so like snow day, wintertime, Christmas. It just encapsulates that feeling for me in a way that no other movie does. For me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't think of another movie that makes me feel that sense of warmth that I feel when it's like snowing and cold, and it was a snow day when I was in high school or middle school or elementary school or whatever. You know, I haven't seen another movie that makes me feel that same like twinge, I guess. I don't know, it's hard to explain.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like
It makes me feel the opposite completely, but I can see that for you.
Do you think that they should have, like, okay, so here's the thing. When, at the beginning of the movie, I think it's reasonable to let the girl check on her boyfriend, but I think that the dad should have went with her.
Agreed.
Because it's only like a block away, and it's going to take like 10 or 15 minutes to walk over there. He probably should have went with her. And it's really weird that it's that close, and they give her an hour. And I'm like, so permission for sex? Like, what's going on with that?
Well, in a blizzard, it takes you a lot longer to get just down.
True.
Oh, well, she said it was like a block or a couple blocks.
She said several blocks, but you've never walked in a blizzard.
Yeah, I have.
But
No,
it
you
is
haven't.
all,
Yes, I have.
they to that point they basically give up on the daughter very quickly. They're just like, what, she's not back yet. It's been like 6 hours or whatever. And it's like, yeah, you probably should have checked on her earlier.
Yeah, seriously.
Before dark.
Yeah. Yeah, and the aunt's like, you give him a little leeway and bam, shotgun wedding. Well, you would know or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, this lady's a savage, dude.
But she's adds a lot of comic relief.
Mm-hmm.
She does. She does. I hated her at the beginning, and then, like, as the movie unfolds, I like her more and more.
Yeah.
But who wants to learn how to make peppermint?
that was a good one.
So many quotable lines, too, in this movie.
Yeah, it's a really fun movie. I don't know why it makes me feel this dread, but it is a very fun, campy movie that doesn't take itself too seriously, and I enjoy it.
Yeah. So, do you guys want to go into a couple negatives? Because I got a couple. For
I
you.
don't have any.
Oh, you don't have any? Oh, wow. You can give this one a 10 out of 10?
No.
Oh, okay. She didn't even give her favorite movie a 10 out of 10.
I
So.
don't believe in tens. But
Yeah,
anyway.
so Tasha's, so basically, guys, if you're listening, just add 1 point to whatever Tasha rates because she's rating on a different scale. Because she refuses
No,
to give 10.
Tasha
Just like
acknowledges
your least favorite teacher refuses to give 100.
Tasha
She
acknowledges
refuses to
that
give 10.
perfect does not exist.
Yeah, there's always at least something.
But you have to scale it on the best that you've
No,
seen.
we
So
don't have a grade curve here, Mike.
No. So say you're grading essays. The greatest essay you've ever read is 100%.
Nope.
And so don't be like, oh, I don't give 100, so 99.
Perfection
Whatever.
doesn't
Screw
exist,
you.
Mike. There's always something. Anyway, move on.
Move
All
on.
right,
Where's
all
your
right.
negatives?
My negatives. So, I don't like that after, like, the ending was perfect with the snow globe. I love the snow globe thing, but I hate that, like, all the creatures jump scare you right before the credits. I hate that. Like, it just leaves me with this sour taste in my mouth. Like, why? I personally would have liked the movie better if it would have when it cut to black when the kid was at the truck by himself in the snow after everyone was taken from him. I almost get the feeling that in the original script that was like the end of the movie, because like everything after that seems like a short film that follows the movie to me. It's got like him confronting Krampus and then Krampus throwing him in the hole, and then the whole thing was zoomed out. It's almost like the studio wanted him to add it in because they weren't satisfied with the movie when they watched it, or that it tested poorly with audiences or something.
Yeah, I kind of feel the opposite. I feel like he kind of wanted to go with that. Cause the beginning kind of makes fun of that fake like schmaltzy. It sets up like a cheesy Christmas movie, and then shit gets crazy, and then it kind of ends as a cheesy Christmas movie as well. I thought it kind of was intentional in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like he kind of wanted to bookend it that way, but again, like adding the twist that it's like, yes, it's the perfect Christmas, but that's your whole existence now. Is you're in the snow globe reliving Christmas every day forever.
Yeah. No, I don't think it's a bad ending. I don't. I just wish it connected better with that scene.
Yeah, I agree
Between
that
the
the
two.
jump scare at the end is not good. It should have just ended when it panned out into Krampus's lair, but
I agree.
Like, it's not like it takes away a whole point on the movie scale
Yeah.
for me or anything. It's just, why?
It doesn't-
Yes, I see it, I'm like, why?
it doesn't fit the tone of the movie. It feels very, like, cheesy to do that.
Like, the studio wanted it. It's like, we already have all these assets, you know, all this CGI
I mean-
stuff. Let's just add this.
It's, we already know that Krampus is still alive. There was no need for that. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's Santa. He can't die.
right.
Yeah, Oh, here's another thing I don't like, is I feel like the practical effects are so good that I don't understand why Krampus's face has to be a static latex mask, and why they couldn't have, like, used the practical effects on somebody's face so that it could, like, move a little bit, or just give me some kind of indication of life. You know, it's like that really when I first saw it in theaters, that really took me out of the movie when the kid confronts him and it shows that close up of Krampus and it's just this like static latex
But
mask.
I kind of thought of it as like he's like a Leatherface, where basically he's a demon with the like the fate like the skin of a man. Like he just kind of threw it on. Like that's I kind of thought it was intentional that it was just kind of a lifeless, like loose face that had no eyes and no real um, like animation to it. That's what.
Yeah, because I don't think actual Krampus looks like that.
Oh, so you guys think it was just a mask?
Because he's mainly like a goat that walks on hind legs.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did like how this movie kind of redesigned the look of Krampus because it's like it's a well-known like folk tale or whatever. So I like that they took
Yeah.
an original approach to the design, but I do think it was intentional that the Krampus face was kind of loose and just like a floppy
Yeah.
like a floppy man skin. It's,
I love everything about the old lady's backstory animation thing. I love that sequence.
yeah, agreed.
Did I already talk about that?
We did.
I mentioned it in the
Tasha and I talked about
summary.
it. You weren't
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, we. But anyways, yeah, we agree. We like the animation too.
What did I do? Tune out a second? There?
Well,
I think so.
I just said that I loved like it kind of felt like a paper cutout, like 2D old, like an old
yeah, I
style.
remember. Yeah, yeah. Guys, I've been coding all day. Leave me alone.
You got any more, or you want to go ahead and go in ratings?
Man, I feel like that I don't have everything covered that I want to say, but I'll say the rest of it in my review. So I guess I'll go first since it's my movie, or the one, my movie, the one that I recommended.
Well,
I
considering
own the
Michael
movie now.
directed it.
This is my copyright now. I'm gonna claim all the YouTube reviews. No, so as you guys know, I really like this director and I like this guy's movies. I'm not gonna be like Trick or Treat and give this one a 10, but I'm sorry, I'm gonna give it a 9. I think it's about as good as a Christmas horror movie can be. It's my favorite on the list, and it's my favorite horror Christmas movie. It's not perfect. I did complain about a few things. I didn't complain about anything in Trick or Treat. That's why I got it a 10, but there was enough combined for me to knock off a point. So just as a quick summary for me, I enjoy the aspect that this movie comments on society and what Christmas is supposed to be versus what it is. That's why it chooses to introduce itself with the Black Friday rush of like people giving gifts and that aspect of it. And I know there's a lot of like feel good Christmas movies. I don't really like Christmas movies, by the way, guys, because I don't like optimistic movies very much. I don't like Forrest Gump and like that stuff. Because it actually makes me sad to watch those type of movies because that's not how the world actually is. So when I see this fabrication of what the world should be, that someone who is of those like special needs or whatever that Forrest Gump is, I'm just using this as an analogy, but like, you know, is able to do all these things, it makes me sad to watch because that is not reality. Like that person could not achieve those things. And so when I watch Christmas movies, I feel the same way, that everybody lives in this altered world. And for me, this captures the real feeling of Christmas that I have, where it reminds me that it's about that togetherness. It's not about the possessions like it opens up, and the thematic elements of the movie is saying like what Christmas is all about. So in a horror-esque way, it is describing what horror is all about, what Christmas is all about, in a way that I think no other movie does effectively like this movie does.
Well, you basically just summed up the plot of The Grinch, but I mean,
But it's still got that optimistic tone in the end.
Yeah.
Though, like.
you want to go ahead and do yours, Tasha?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. I mean, it's a pretty good movie, but I'm not big on it. There's a lot of the lines from the families that kind of get on my nerves, and I love the animation, like I've said. So
You get on my nerves.
you're on my last one. But anyways, I'm giving it a 7.
Okay. I'm torn. I guess I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Um,
I knew you were gonna give it an 8.
I
I
was
knew it.
debating whether to give it a 7 as well, but I think it is a really great movie. It's very effective. The acting is great. The characters they all make me feel something, whether it's like sympathy for them or hatred for them. So it's very good in that regard. But like I said, it makes me feel this weird dread, so I don't personally go back and watch it that much. But it is a very good movie that I enjoy. Um, so for that, I'll give it an 8 out of 10 because it's a fun Christmas horror movie, and it is probably one of the better Christmas horror movies out there.
Mhm.
Cool.
All right. And
All right, boys. Do you guys want to talk about
rare exports.
rare exports? Thank you, Tasha.
Mhm.
So do you want me to do the summary of this one, or do you want to do it? Because I totally have it ready.
Yeah,
if
go
you
ahead.
want me to
Go
do
ahead.
it. Cool. So this movie is, I believe, a foreign film. It is a movie. It might be a USA made, but it's got a lot of foreign aspects of it. So it's a movie where you have this small town community who get their living on simple blue collar means, and there's this company that moves in, is kind of digging on the top of a mountain. They're just digging,
As you
They're doing
do.
their thing. They're digging it. Yeah, as you do. They're digging a really deep hole, like really deep, like way deeper than I thought you could dig. So they dig this hole, and down at the bottom they are looking for Santa Claus himself. That's right, boys. So they're looking for Santa, and so you see this man who falls into a trap that a local family has set. And when the man goes in the trap, I don't know about you guys, I was assuming he was Santa for a
Yep,
while.
agreed.
And then I found out he was one of Santa's helpers. So he's one of Santa's helpers. He doesn't speak. It seems like he's got like super speed. He's stronger than a normal person, so he's kind of like a superhuman. He's one of the elves. He's like one of Santa's helpers, and he can like bite chunks off of people. You don't want to go near him, and you don't want to you just don't want to mess with him. Yeah. So they decide that they're screwed financially because of this company that's nearby. So they decide to literally become criminals all of a sudden, and so they abduct this man, and they hold him hostage, and they want to exchange him for cash to the company that they think he works for that's mining on the mountain. So you think it's going to be this like singular hostage exchange movie, but then he goes to meet the people that they're thinking that they're going to get the money from, but it turns out that there's a bunch of other helpers there, and the rest of the movie unfolds in a way you wouldn't expect. So it has, they find Santa, and he is in this barn. So they decide to blow it up and explode it, and lure the helpers. Sorry, that's the word I was looking for. The helpers away with a helicopter, and then since Santa's gone, the helpers are no longer hostile. So they kind of like collect all the helpers as if they're animals and sell them in crates to people who want Santa helpers, and those are and they make a company called Rare Exports so they can export the Santas.
Yep. What
Did I miss anything? And there's a coming of age story. Kind of skipped the family.
one
Altogether.
thing to add is the people in this town, they make a living off of selling reindeer. I don't know if for like meat or for like livestock or whatever, but
Right.
all the reindeer are killed by the helpers, but the dad and the townspeople think it was the company that left a hole in the fence that let wolves in. So that's why they like become criminals and kidnap the guy, because they think that the company basically bankrupted them.
Good correction. Yep. Correct. Yep. Didn't mention that.
But I enjoyed it. I went in with very low expectations, but this movie was really fun. And it was way more Christmassy than I thought it would be. Just given given the setting, it's like it was Christmas in kind of a really rural, like foreign land that I didn't feel like I would be able to relate to. But no,
Yeah.
it was good.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up my notes, but one of the okay, I'm gonna spend a lot of positivity on this movie. I'm gonna get a couple negatives out of the way quickly, and then we can go back to positivity for me, because I don't want to forget to say anything because I did the summary, so it's all at the top of my head right now. I did not like the last third of the movie. So
Yep.
the first two acts I liked, but then like the third act, where pretty much everything after the hostage negotiation I didn't like. I didn't like the whole plot of like let's explode Santa and then like drive away like cool that guys from an explosion.
Yeah.
And then the kid coming of age thing didn't jive with me of him like jumping off the helicopter. But that might have actually just been a cultural difference. But I was just like, this kid will like I know he wants to prove to himself and his dad that he's a man and that he's autonomous. But for me as an American, I just see it and I'm like, this kid does not listen.
Yeah.
It actually to me would show more maturity and more like manly and adult like if he would like listen and you know and be respectful to his father. But the movie kind of shows the opposite. I think that's a cultural difference. So I'm not gonna downplay the movie too much for that because it could be a cultural difference. But yeah. So anything on that last third, I don't need to dwell on that for too long. But even just the exportation of the guys in the end, I wanted to like the characters and be with them throughout their struggles. But it makes me hard. It makes it hard through repeat viewings to feel bad for this family for going through the financial hardship when I know that they're literally going to be selling human beings in the end. So, yeah,
Um,
that's the negative.
I wish they would have cut a little bit at the part where they're like training the elves to be Santas. I just felt that they dwelled on that a little too much.
Yeah, and I agree with Mike. I love the first 2/3, and the last act really it was like a complete tonal shift. It felt it didn't feel like the same movie, and kind of to Tasha's point, like the
Die Hard Christmas.
yeah, the kid it went from like a really dark, brooding kind of like supernatural Christmas movie to just like this kid is an action hero, and it was just
Stranger Things to Daredevil.
yeah.
Like what?
And I thought that I got to the last scene and I was like, why is this called Rare Exports? And then it was like, oh, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, they plugged it in the end.
I didn't
Like,
I didn't think that was very effective, and it was just kind of dumb. Like the whole like we're gonna sell these elves to make our money back felt like it was written by a third grader. But the rest of the movie felt really smart and effective.
the first 2/3 were written by the English teacher as the writing prompt. That's the writing prompt. And so you take over the story from there, and the kid just decided to explode Santa.
Yeah. I thought it was like a clever, probably a budgetary thing that they never actually showed Santa Claus, but I kind of felt cheated. I was like, I wanted to see this giant Krampus-like Santa.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
yes, because they built up to that so much that I thought Santa was gonna win in the end. I thought the plan wasn't gonna work, and Santa was gonna get out, and he was gonna be like super speed and just take their heads off and stuff.
Yeah.
He was gonna be like Rock Lee from like Naruto and take the weights off and just like behead everyone.
I mean, that's what we were hoping for.
Yeah, we were
anyways.
literally making Naruto comments while we saw the movie because we were like talking about the elves being like Rock Lee because they're so fast and shit. Take off the weights.
Yeah, it just, the last like 15-20 minutes, just, it felt like a totally different movie, and it did kind of kill it for me, but I thought the, everything with the elf that they caught in the trap, him being in like the butcher barn, like he was very creepy, and that really worked from a horror perspective of just like
Yeah.
him basically just like creepily smiling at everybody, and then when the kid comes in he just kind of perks up and just like tries to lunge at him like that was
Yeah.
pretty scary.
That was definitely the scariest scene. I liked it too when it just showed his like legs when he first came to like the dig site and stuff, and I was like, that was good foreshadowing because I was like, oh my god, is Santa gonna be this like super fast killer that just slays everyone like Street Fighter style? Like what's gonna happen? Because his stance reminded me of like martial arts or something. I'm like, oh god, what's happening?
I really liked the book at the beginning where they were talking
Oh,
about the
yeah.
legends of Santa.
Yeah, the book was cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, I knew we were gonna be in for a good movie. If you remember when we were discussing
Yeah.
that at the beginning, we were like, oh, it's gonna be like the Babadook. It's gonna have like a cool books.
Yeah, and I don't know, talking about it now, I liked this movie, but the more we talk about the ending, it really did kind of kill it for me.
Oh no,
Like,
I'd mentioned that first, and now it's like,
no,
ah,
but
I
the
ruined
build
it.
up is so good, but it just, yeah, but again, I don't know what they would have done in the third act to make it more satisfying, other than having Santa come in and just kill everyone, and they probably
Yes,
didn't have the budget for that.
yeah,
Probably not.
But
that's what I wanted.
um, yeah, it was it reminded me of Ready Player One, where like the third act, it's just like they make this plan and then everything goes according to plan exactly, no issues, the end. It was just like nothing in life works that simply. It
That's smooth.
Yeah, he must be related to Jigsaw if he can make plans that are that detailed that work out
Yeah.
perfectly.
and it was like very Rugrats, where it's like the adults are just like the whole time they're trying to figure it out, and then all of a sudden they're just listening to the kid, and he's like, all right, put the dynamite here, here, and here, and then I'm gonna dangle off the edge of this helicopter, and we're gonna just go through the woods. And it's like, where is this coming from? They wouldn't listen to this kid.
No.
I like how the kid doesn't like to see like wild game, even though he lives in a rural area where they like obviously do that all the time because they have a special table for
Yeah.
it. I thought that was bizarre because when I was a kid, I used to help my dad skin animals like that, and so like when you're raised in that environment, then I don't know, I didn't resonate with that at all because I was telling Tosh, I was like, dude, I would have been helping him, like, but the kid won't even face and look at it and stuff.
Well,
But then he says, don't look, and the kid looks. So like he peeks through the window because he's curious what his dad and his friends are working on in there. And then he wanders away, and he gets in the police car, and then nothing happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kid, he gets kind of on my nerves.
Yeah, that kid, man, that kid. I know, actually, the kid probably did the right thing. So I was, like, respecting the kid for being like, you know what, screw my dad. This is, like, not right. So I'm going to go tell the police. So I was on the kid's side on that. But then the rest of the movie was a 0 out of 10.
But I think the whole like the kid not wanting to look at the like the butchering of the animals, that kind of goes into the coming of age story. Is he's a little boy, and then he's a little boy that has that little doll that he carries everywhere, and then at the end he throws the doll down and he's like ready to kill every motherfucker in the woods. So it's like it's that cliche of like I'm a man now. I'm throwing all my childhood
Yeah.
things away.
I just don't get like why, if he's raised in that environment, why he's still repulsed by the skinning or gutting of the game. Because I used to do that when I was his
his
age. I
dad
used to do it
doesn't-
myself.
His dad don't really want him seeing it, so obviously that's a reason he's not used to seeing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that, but at the same time, to Mike's point, like this little kid's obviously gonna become a butcher when he grows up because that's what his dad does. So he's gonna have to do it eventually. But
I like these creepy straw dolls that they had throughout
yeah,
the movie.
that was cool.
Oh yeah, I forgot about those. It's like Blair Witch.
They're cooler than Blair Witch.
Yeah, they're cooler than Blair Witch.
Yeah,
You're right.
the location was really cool, and I
Yes.
loved the environment and the setting and just the feeling that
That's the best part of
yeah.
the movie.
Yeah.
all
I
of that
agree.
If you
was
took
great.
the same plot and put it in America, it wouldn't be as
Yep, agreed. So it's like, I mean, we've said it a million times already, but the build up is so good and so effective, and just
You've said it.
Well, you brought it up, and then I've reiterated.
But we've all agreed with that.
Yeah. The viewers that go back. No, but you're right. You're completely right, man. I don't know. It's hard to imagine like what the ending would have been otherwise, but I'm sure it would have been fine. What do you think? What do you think of the kid that was with him on the snowmobile at the beginning with the fence?
He's annoying.
How do you guys feel about that character?
He's annoying. I wish they would cut him.
Yeah, I wish they would physically cut him, but
Whoa!
no, I think
Wish they'd cut the actual actor.
he was annoying, but I think he was necessary for the story because he was kind of like the foil to the little boy. This was this little kid that was trying so hard to be a man. He was smoking and like had shot guns and like he was trying so hard, and then he was still considered a kid by Santa, and he was abducted. So it's kind of like that reversal of like. I guess the movie was kind of trying to have two different messages there, because like the kid that was trying to be a man was like useless in the third act, but the kid that was trying to be a kid was like the action hero. I don't know what point the movie was trying to make, but I feel it was intentional, like the two different characters.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Somehow I make a man out of you. Yeah. To play that like while he drives away from in the truck, even though the kid's not even there, whatever. Cool guys don't look at explosions. Jake.
Nope. Why would they? Why would they want to know what's gonna kill them from behind?
Yeah. They just drive away from explosions and they're unaffected by the sound or the heat or anything.
And my one little nitpick, like logical thing, with the third act is they said how they're going to be bankrupt because all their reindeer are dead, but they take 11 months to train all these Santa Claus. Like, how are they living for that 11 months with no income? And B, wouldn't they want to mail the Santas out more than a month before Christmas?
Yeah, I would go anywhere from at least September or October.
Did it ever establish when it was? Because maybe it was like December 1.
I swear
it. So then maybe they're shipping out on November 1.
I think he said November.
I swear it said like,
November.
yeah, it either said like November or like 1 year later or something like that at the end when they were training the Santas.
Oh, yeah. Those rare exports, they're too late.
Yeah, it's like that
They don't have that Amazon.
yeah, they don't.
Prime
You
ship.
can't prime ship the rare exports. That was just my one. Again, it's like something else that kind of ruined the third act for me. It's like it's a stupid concept and it's not even logical.
Yeah.
No, I get that.
So.
Yeah, I like how the guy was like eating the cookie and like throwing it at the thing.
Yeah.
I was like, what a brave dude to have lost like a piece of his face and still do that.
Oh yeah, that was pretty good, like suspense or like horror too. Is like when he went out, like you said, with the cookies and was running from all the elves or helpers or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else in your notes? Because I'm out.
Oh yeah, let me look at my notes. Yeah.
Because I already talked on mine.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Let me see. I like the Santa logo for the rare exports. I'm a fan of the logo.
Yeah, nice design. I wonder who they paid to build that in that small town. On their MacBook.
Yeah, on their MacBook. Yeah. I don't know what this note means. It says shove. It's towards the beginning of the movie, but it says shove the kid to move the gate. You know what that means?
No.
No? Okay. I usually know what my notes mean, but
You didn't elaborate
What?
on that one.
I think it means when they were I think his dad shoved him or whatever. I don't remember.
I think it was
Anyways.
when they were trying to lure the reindeer into the pen in the beginning, and they had to like open the gate, and the kid was. I think the kid was in the way, and the dad like threw him down.
Oh yeah, he pushed
yeah.
him.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I was like, I thought that was so funny that his dad just like freaking moved him, like yeeted him. yeah, yeah. Thanks for remembering. The man crying acting was top notch. He looks like a manly dude, so he did good with the
Yeah,
crying.
the dad was really good, like him trying to not tell the son what like the money problems they're having, and like trying his best to cook the dinner and messing it up. Like I felt for the dad. He was trying his best to like shield
Yeah.
his son from the harsh reality of life or whatever.
He was probably the best written character in the movie and also the best actor
Yeah,
in the movie.
agreed.
So
Yeah, I could see
it was a
that.
combo. I just put a note that says the ending ruined it. But, I mean, it didn't ruin the whole movie. But the rest of it is rating stuff. So if you want me to, I'll go ahead and go into my rating
Yeah.
since
Go for it.
I have this in front of me. So I put the first half of the movie 8 out of 10, or the first two acts, I should say, 8 out of 10. The second, or the third act, it was a 4 out of 10. So overall, I'm either going to give a 6 or a 7. After discussing it, I think I will watch it next year, and because of that, I'm going to give it a 7. I'm going to lean towards a 7 because I feel like I want to watch it again, like soon actually, maybe even before winter's over. And so I can't give it a 6 if I want to watch it again that soon. So I'm going to give it a 7 and maybe even add it to my yearly watch list as like maybe not my favorite one, but one that I will watch. And maybe I'll stop the movie after the hostage
Yep, agreed.
negotiation. I'll just watch the first like 2 quarters of, or 2 acts of the movie. Rather, not 2 quarters, but 2/3.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do mine. I'll probably going to give it a 6. I was going to give it a 7, but the ending, I don't know, I just wish some of it could be cut and done differently. And I don't think I'm going to watch it every year, so you probably going solo on that one.
Han Solo.
Um,
Sitting in the sky.
Come on. And some of the characters kind of got on my nerves, so.
Sorry.
But other than that,
I like how you look at me like, do you mind?
Well, you're
You're so uptight.
upstaging, Mike. You're being a dick.
yeah, because
What?
I listen to everything.
sorry.
I listen to everything you say.
No, it's just you reminded me of the song. Now I feel bad. You want to say it again?
No, go ahead, Jake. Go ahead.
Oh no. See, now the audience hates me even more. They already hate my voice. Yeah, they think
I
I'm
don't think
mean.
anyone hates your voice. Nobody has ever said that.
I know, but it's a recurring joke. So everybody's got to comment about it.
Go ahead, Jake. You're up.
Yeah, Mr. Imagineer.
I'm gonna imagine this one a 5 out of 10. I think it's
Whoa!
I think the first half is very strong, and it builds a lot of suspense and kind of I liked the twist of that you thought it was Santa, but it actually was like one of several helpers. That was a cool twist, but the ending really kills it, and I don't really see myself rewatching it just for the fact that the twist and the build-up won't really be effective a second viewing. I might watch it again at some point, but it's definitely not going to be in my yearly Christmas rotation. I think the first 2/3 is like probably a 7 or 8 out of 10, but the ending is like written by a 3rd grader. It's like a 1 out of 10. It's really bad. So basically, I liked everything about this movie except the title. 5 out of 10.
Okay.
Dang. So this movie lost a lot of points for you
Ye-
because of the ending.
Yeah, and I did have it.
Like 3
I
points.
did have it higher, but I moved it lower and lower as we were talking.
Okay. What was your OG score?
I
before
usually
that?
don't come up with the scores. Like I don't write them down until I just come up with them as we talk. But I was probably gonna give it like a 7, 6 or 7.
See, that was my initial one. Was the 7.
Okay.
And like it was still a very enjoyable movie.
I can respect the 5. I was just wondering.
And like I said it in the group chat, but I think this like this was the most consistently strong pack of movies for me. Like, I enjoyed all of these movies for what they were. I know you're different, Mike, but I think this was a great, like, pack of movies.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's not my favorite that we've had yet, but it's up there. I like it.
We already know what your favorite is. And it was probably in October for the Halloween.
That was a good
No,
one,
because
too.
I didn't like Pumpkinhead. I didn't like Pumpkinhead.
Oh, yeah, Pumpkinhead
That's my
ruins
favorite.
a lot of things.
You just dislike Jake's movies all the time.
I think
Except for
I think you're gonna like my next one, Mike. I'm going
Oh.
crazy next month.
Oh, I'm excited to
Ooh,
find
okay,
out.
so everybody, okay. So now is when we go, before we do the recommendations, boys, we like to talk about some other horror things that we've seen in between the two podcasts. So I'll start this one off. I saw a movie, a campy horror movie called Silent Night on online, and it was like a movie. It was a murder mystery movie, and it was like Santa with a flamethrower. But like, there's so many Santas, like mall Santas and different Santas. Like, there was a Santa killer, but they didn't know which Santa it was because there's so many Santas. Because it's an urban area, there's like Santas everywhere. So then they were like the police. So it was like a whodunit police drama movie, but with like Santa with a flamethrower, and it was pretty funny.
Huh.
It was a great one to drink and like watch with my buddy Randy, and just just do that. We laughed. We had a good time. So
That sounds entertaining.
yeah. I might recommend it next year.
Um,
Christmas is over though, so
I didn't see anything from then.
No, I don't think I've watched any horror. I never got to see Doctor Sleep. I totally missed it in the theater and I forgot about it, but I'm so mad that I never went to see it in the theater.
me too. I wanted to see it. I kept meaning to every Sunday. I only have one day of the week where I'm permitted to go, and the stars never aligned for me to go. Because me and Tasha have to go solo because of Molly. We refuse to take a baby in the movies. I know people do that, and it's fine, but we just made a conscious choice when we had Molly that we would never take her into a movie until she was like old enough.
I mean, I want to see Doctor Sleep, but there's certain reasons why I'm waiting because I'm wanting to watch it with my brother, and hopefully soon we'll be able to watch it together.
Yeah.
It's because she doesn't want to watch it with me because we're about to get a divorce.
Yeah, after you upstaged her on that last comment.
Yeah. We got our lawyer ready. He's got the papers drawn up.
Is he a BNI reference or?
I wonder if that counts as business towards someone in Vienna.
But anyways, is there any other ones?
I didn't see a lot of horror in November. I was too busy like Christmas shopping and
Well,
all that.
between that and we was watching these, and
Yeah.
plus nothing really came out.
Other than these four, yeah, I haven't really watched anything.
I watched one more horror movie with Randy, but I don't remember what it was.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, sorry guys.
Yeah.
Well, maybe next year we have more. Hopefully, more comes out at the
Yeah,
first of the year.
Anything? Oh, I want to see The Lighthouse. So whenever that movie is available for us to watch via streaming or renting or
Whatever.
buying digitally, I really, really want to watch it. Like,
Is that that's the black and white one?
Yeah,
that one
Yeah,
looked
You know
interesting.
me, I like the slow pace. Yeah, I like the slow pace psychological horror movies a lot. So it looks
Probably over 2 hours, Jake. So you're probably gonna hate it.
yeah.
Yeah, that would.
But it does have like William Dafoe and Robert Pattinson, so it's like
Is
So
Robert
that is-
Pattinson good? Like, is he a good actor now?
he's a good actor. Yeah.
What are you talking about, Mike? He's not that good of an actor.
What?
No.
All of his recent movies have been so good.
I haven't seen
You guys
anything,
are
any of
asleep.
his recent stuff, I guess.
Are you just still thinking about like 2010 Twilight or something?
I think the
'Cause
only
he's been
movie
in a
I've seen
lot of
him
good
in was
shit.
Harry Potter 4. So,
I wish he wasn't even that good in that.
Oh, dude, no, you gotta watch some of his movies. He's really good, man. He's a really good actor.
Okay, you sold it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously William Dafoe's good. Everybody knows he's good. Because I think what makes him good is just his voice is just so good for the roles that he's cast as. He's just like, I'm William Dafoe.
He does say his name
I
in
can't even
every
do it.
role he has, I'm sure.
But anything else before recommendations?
No, I think that's all the generic, boring stuff that the audience skips every time.
All right. Jake, why don't you start first on the recommendations?
Okay, so
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going different this month. I'm recommending a movie I've seen and I like, and it's a recent movie. I'm recommending Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Good, because I haven't seen that yet.
Me neither.
Because I think I told you
Alright.
off the podcast that you really should watch it, and it was
Yeah, we had.
Now I
it was
gotta.
now you have to. It was we went to see it in the theater, and it was my favorite. It's like a PG-13, so it's more of like a Gremlins type of horror, but it's it was my favorite horror movie I've seen in like 6 years or so. Like I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. So hopefully you
Okay.
guys like it as well.
All right. I'm going actually a little bit different myself. I'm actually doing a modern, and I am doing Annabelle Comes Home.
Oh, I haven't seen that, and I did want to see it. So look at us.
Yeah. Tasha watched it without me, even though she's watched all the other movies with
I
me.
got tired of
And
waiting
it
on
hurt
them.
my feelings, legitimately. This is not funny.
You'll
Well,
survive.
you
You'll
just
watch it
sold
now.
me up, so, yeah. All right, Michael, what's yours?
All right, so I guess because Josh isn't here, I get two this time.
Yeah. So-
So the first one is going to be Happy Death Day,
Gross.
which we talked about
Yeah.
earlier. The second one is going to be Happy Death Day 2. I'm just
Oh
kidding.
no, I was gonna refuse that one right
You
there.
better not. You better not, because I
The
cannot
second
get
one
that
is
good.
absolute trash.
And what is your actual sentence?
What did I tell you before the podcast? Because I literally forgot what my recommend. Oh yeah, so I've been recommending a lot of like serious movies, slow pace. Like I did Midsommar. I know Krampus isn't that serious, but I want to do another like one that I don't like that we can talk about like that. What?
You're intentionally recommending a movie you don't like.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's a good movie, but I enjoy watching
Okay.
it because it's so bad it's good type of situation.
Okay.
So I'm gonna recommend Brightburn. So those are the two: Happy Death Day and Brightburn.
Is that the superhero horror movie that just came out? Like the little kid?
Yeah, it's if Superman was a bad guy and it was filmed in a horror movie.
All right, I'll keep an open mind, but if you already prefaced that it's
seen it.
terrible.
No, okay. I think you'll enjoy it for how stupid it is. Just have a few beers and enjoy.
So it's a
it, you know,
crack
like
open.
Zombievers.
It's a crack open the cold one official seal of approval. Okay.
Yes.
Sounds like a whole bottle, if you ask me.
And I think there's some kind of yeah, you get a 40-ounce Miller High Life. It's one that you pound away a 40-ounce Miller High Life.
All right, that sounds good.
Sounds great.
All right. Yeah. So this has been the last podcast of 2019.
Yeah.
I just before Jake goes into his shirts, I just want to thank everybody, like the few people who listen to this. We're gonna keep making it, as long as we can, no matter what. But we really appreciate the few people who make it to the end and listen to these and all that stuff. So it's been a good year. We started the podcast in 2019. We're planning on keeping it going. So we talked about it after the last one, and we're all having a lot of fun making it. I'm having fun editing it. Jake's having fun doing his shirts, but he hates me, so that's okay.
No, it's well, like Mike said, I appreciate the 6 people who listen, or however many, the
Yeah.
people who listen. But I mean, we started this because we wanted to like schedule a time to talk more and catch up. So we're gonna keep doing that. So whether or not anybody listens, we'll be chatting.
Yeah. So Tosh and I own a couple of Jake's beautiful T-shirts. So we want you guys to take a look at his designs and all that. So go ahead and plug your shirts, my dude.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that segue. No, it's anyone that's listened before. I make subtle horror themed T-shirts, kind of loosely based on maybe some popular IPs you like. Not legally, of course, but and I also have some more original designs that are just kind of horror centric in general. But I do have a specific shirt that is relevant for this month. I have one that it's the rule of how to take care of a gremlin car is that you never drive it after midnight. So that's my terrible dad joke on a T-shirt you can own.
Yeah.
So if you're interested at
I
all,
love how subtle they are.
what'd you say?
I love how subtle they are sometimes about like some of the jokes. My favorite is still, I think, the Shining.
I like those.
Carpet.
You mean the murder hotel or the horror hotel T-shirts that I have?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Those ones?
Yeah, the carpet design.
Yes, those are good.
Yeah.
No, those are fun, and like some of them are jokes, some of them are serious. I don't know, and I think the big thing I like about them is that only like one or two of them are black. That's the one thing I hated about horror T-shirts is they're all black. So it's like I don't want to wear black. I live in Florida. I want a nice bright color that will reflect the sun. So if you're looking for a horror T-shirt that's not black, I probably have some. So check it out at jakensteinapparel.com.
If you don't go there, you're a loser.
Agreed.
Have a Merry Christmas, guys. You know you gotta spend that Christmas gift card money. Oh no, not gift card. You can't spend a gift card at Jenkinstein Horror.
Well, no, you can get it's through Store Envy. You can get a Store Envy gift card and spend it there, I think.
You could probably use a prepaid Visa.
Yeah. So take your Christmas bucks, and instead of buying V-Bucks for Fortnite, buy Jenkinstein horror apparel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And keep listening to our podcast because if you don't, you will die.
Krampus will
Just
get
like
you.
Josh. Just like he got Josh.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animals.
Happy holidays.
I thought you were going to say happy holidays. This is the longest outro. I'm not even going to cut it yet. And then right there. I'm not even going to cut it yet. And then I just hear Jake go.
Yeah, that'll be good because we were all three trying to think of something funny to say at the end, and then
Yeah, I'm just going to leave some empty space.